Secret agent man, secret agent man. They've given you a number and taken away your name.
Welcome back to EnterTheRealWorld.com. My name is Matt Waters. I'm joined by Ben Phillips for Secret Agent Men. There's a lot in this one. It is episode 9. It is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Ben, how are you? Have you slept on the movie as I have?
I mean, I watched it about 3 days ago. I actually spent my last night watching before sunrise, so I'm ready for our Richard Linklater podcast.
I'm not. I'm emotionally not. Yeah, maybe one day. We literally have podcasts booked in through 2022.
I don't even know at this point. I mean, you pitched us doing another one the other day. I was like, Matt, would we do this?
Next year, January,
next
in the
year,
place of
right.
Secret Agent Men. But no, we are doing Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Finally dropped the numbers at Tom Cruise's request, because he wants each one to just feel like a distinct, different thing, and not just here's another one. And also, just when you're doing sequels, the numbers start to sound a bit sad after a while, but Fast and Furious didn't get the memo, apparently, so...
Yeah, but Fast and Furious has the most insane naming structure of any franchise in the world.
The Fast and the Furious.
The latest movie is just called F9.
So released in December 2011. 3 years since we got anything from any of these franchises, which is... I don't know if that's the longest gap between any of... without having one of these movies come out, I don't know. But yeah, certainly a while. Directed by Brad Bird of Pixar and The Simpsons fame, Iron Giant, Incredibles, Ratatouille, Tomorrowland. Did Damon Lindelof write that?
Damon Lindelof and Brad Bird co-wrote it. It is Damon Lindelof's best movie. It is Brad Bird's worst movie.
Oh, that's sad. Yes, JJ had to step down, or step up, depending on how you look at it, to producer, because he was busy with Super 8 and other things, I guess.
Yeah, he goes on to Star Trek immediately after Super 8, so he wouldn't have time for anything else. And obviously this is, I think most interestingly, this is where Christopher McQuarrie kind of joins the franchise.
Well, we'll get to that, but officially written by Josh Applebaum and Andre Nimick, don't know, who worked on Alias, they worked on Life on Mars, they would go on to write the 2 Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films. Presumably they got hired by JJ because Alias and making Mission Impossible like Alias worked last time, so here you go. 2 hours, 2 minutes, so a little bit shorter than 3. Could have shaved a good half hour off this and we would have been singing the goddamn praises of one of the finest action films ever made, but more on that to come. $145 million budget, so less than Mission Impossible 3, but it grossed $695 million, so until Mission Impossible Fallout comes out, the highest grossing Mission Impossible film and the highest grossing Tom Cruise film. So, well done. On less money, you made a fuck ton more.
Yeah, it's also like, this is the last year where Marvel isn't a thing, really.
Yeah. Although, there's a year coming up where we get one of each of these movies in the same year, I think, and they all made a decent amount. I don't know.
Obviously, Marvel took 2009 off. 2010 is Iron Man 2. This year is Thor and Captain America, neither of which
made a huge amount,
Yeah, neither of them cracked the top 10 movies at the box office that year. Like, the top 5 for box office that year is like Harry Potter, Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbean, Twilight, Mission Impossible. It's like all these other franchises, and then 2012 it's Avengers, and Marvel don't look back after that.
People can give Marvel and superhero movies a lot of shit about, franchises and this, that, and the other, but like all these fucking Harry Potters and Transformers and all these other ones were doing it first, so leave them alone. And there's 9 Fast and Furious movies.
And that was number 7 at the box office. I think the most impressive thing looking at the box office there is Deathly Hallows Part 2 is good, Fast 5 is good, Dark of the Moon, On Strange Tides, and Breaking Dawn are all terrible.
Mm-hmm. So, as mentioned, and the last time when we covered Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible 3 was not as financially successful as the first 2 movies, but it did get good reviews, so Paramount were like, let's do another one, but they gave them less money. J.J. Abrams, as we said, couldn't commit to directing, slid over to producer. Brad Bird steps up after Edgar Edgar Wright declines because he's too busy with Scott Pilgrim. No firm script in place, and Brad Bird apparently repeatedly asked Abrams for the script in a sort of joking manner, and then was like, okay, seriously, can I have the script? And he was like, well, we have a lot of drafts, but you should really just see this as a blank canvas for you to be involved creatively, which is a kind of dick move, but this is Brad Bird's first live-action movie, so I guess he wasn't going to object too hard. And a good job.
But we say it's his first live-action movie, but he's coming off of Iron Giant, Incredibles, and Ratatouille, which are three of the best received movies of like the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he's someone who's like notoriously kind of like quite controlling about like what he does.
Yeah.
I think it's quite noticeable that this is the only movie that he's directed that he isn't involved in the writing process of.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not disputing his ability as a filmmaker. They're different disciplines.
Oh no, 100%. But it's just one of those interesting things where like I'm actually quite impressed that he didn't just sit down and go like, "Fuck you, I'm writing the script myself."
Wow. Yeah, and maybe he did without credit, I don't know, but because I think that happens way more than it gets reported or officially happens, is that I think a lot of directors do kind of rewrite their scripts. But so they went from calling it Mission Impossible 4 to dropping the Mission Impossible name altogether and just calling it Ghost Protocol to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which I think is the right decision, but as you highlighted when we did MI2, that place in the colon between Mission and Impossible has really fucked how they present these in terms of typography. So.
Mission, impossible, M dash, Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, I guess it's got to be an M dash, hasn't it? Or just different fonts or whatever. So famously, Christopher McQuarrie, as you said, who will be directing the next two.
4.
Alright, the next 2 that have been filmed, and the next 2 that are going to be. Jesus Christ, he's going to have done 4 Mission Impossible movies. He's
going to be the king director at the end of this. Like, at the moment, we're sat at like 2 is the max that someone can do. Actually, well, 3, I guess, with Paul Greengrass, but it's hard to accept Jason Bourne as like...
just to accept Jason Bourne.
Just to accept Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 3 to 2, and then Chris McQuarrie's going to come in and go like, I've done 4 of these fucking things.
In a row as well. So he did some rewrites in the middle of filming, and I can't find anything concrete about this, but I have heard via you that they were, well, I don't know if they're planning to do it in this movie, but certainly the character of Brand Jeremy Renner's character was introduced to take over from Ethan Hunt. And I don't know if they were planning to kill him here, or it was just, hey, this is our long-term contingency plan because Tom Cruise isn't going to want to make these forever. Haha, lol. Of course.
Well, I think it's also like, you look at Mission Impossible 3, and obviously Mission Impossible 3 is where the culmination of all the shit that was going on with Scientology and all the stuff on War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds made money. This movie, or Mission Impossible 3, didn't make money. He kind of goes away, and all the movies he makes after Mission Impossible 3 are kind of safe and not that interesting, because it's like Night and Day and just all these like weird things where like which don't make money. He obviously meets Chris McQuarrie on the set of Valkyrie, which wasn't directed by a person.
What's the goddamn sci-fi with Morgan Freeman?
Oblivion.
When was that?
Oblivion's 2013. So that's kind of like after this kind of rehabilitated him a little bit, and it's when he starts working with like the same 4 directors, because he takes Joseph Kosinski and it takes him to go do Top Gun Maverick after that. So after this movie, like every director he works with is like the same like 3 directors over and over again.
Yeah, I like that Tom Cruise has sort of low-key carved out this career as like one of the upper echelon sort of sci-fi people, like from Minority Report his first one probably, but from then onwards it's I guess Vanilla Sky maybe counts, but yeah. So I don't know if he did nix an ending where Ethan
I think the rumor is that basically Chris McQuarrie came on, saw that what the plan was, because like you look at the story with Jeremy Renner, and Jeremy Renner's arc in this movie is so bizarre that it's wrapped up in like a dialogue scene about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and then he has fuck all to do after that. And it's like Chris McQuarrie comes in, looks at what they've got, and kind of goes to them and goes like, what's been filmed?
Yeah, he had to confirm what, like, he can't just have them not film the Burj Khalifa scene, or what. Not that he should have done that, but, you know, he can't have them just change giant action set pieces that they've already, like, had boarded and propped and all that. But he said he, like, worked on making the central mystery less complicated, and, yeah.
Which I have to imagine involved Jeremy Renner. I have to imagine that, like, the central mystery is just like, well, I don't care about any of this.
The secretary is corrupt, and Brandt had inside knowledge knowledge and this, that, and who knows. Speaking of Jeremy Renner, he turned down a role in Super 8. That role went to Kyle Chandler to sign on. There was no script, but he is just a huge Tom Cruise fan, so he was like, yup, sign me up.
I mean, I have to imagine the conversation between Super 8 and Mission Impossible is just like JJ's just in a room and kind of like, I've got these roles that you can think about doing. Which one would you rather do?
Yeah. He beat out Anthony Mackie, Chris Pine, Tom Hardy, and some others. What a better world we could have been living in if literally any of those three had been William Brandt.
How bizarre is it that their original plan was to move this franchise to star Jeremy Renner, who has just come off the back of an Oscar nomination and an Oscar-winning movie, to take Tom Cruise, who was presumably at this point kind of about late 40s, and give the role to someone who was in their late 30s.
Yeah. Renner's got that whole I'm way older than you think I am thing going on, hasn't he?
Yeah, like, he's only about 7 years different between Tom Cruise, and they're like going to pass his franchise off. And it's like, you're not going to extend the length of the franchise by that much.
But imagine if this had been Tom Hardy. Are Jeremy Renner and Henry Cavill in the same movie together? Or
No.
Oh, I'm just imagining a world where Tom Hardy and Henry Cavill are punching each other, and I'm a little bit aroused, I won't lie. And yes, this was the first one filmed with lots of IMAX, which was in vogue at the time, and I think our agent is Ethan Hunt. Tom Cruise continues to just hurl himself into this role. I guess there is more going on in his head than there was at the beginning, but he is still kind of just a Tom Cruise protagonist.
Yeah, there like, of the three protagonists, like, he has the least personality.
Which is weird because Jason Bourne is literally a blank slate.
Yes, exactly. But
this is just so generic and like, I mean, he's a sad bunny this time. There is some stuff going on with the wife that I completely forgot how that resolved. So I was like, oh, she's dead. He gained some new superpowers. He can lip read in a foreign language, which is baller.
I mean, he could lip read in the last movie.
Yeah, he could lip read in English. I don't know if it's possible to lip read in another language. I mean, I'm sure it is, but like, you are doing a lot of brain work there to make that happen. And maybe I'm just pinning it on the whole Burj Khalifa thing, but a semblance of hesitation to do insane things is starting to creep in, and I don't know if they were trying to push for, like, Ethan's getting a bit older, so maybe he'll be leaving soon, or maybe it's just that one scene.
Yeah, like, he's kind of very tired in a lot of the big action set pieces in this movie.
Yeah. I don't want to say he's fucking up a bit, but it's not going as smoothly as it has before.
Well, I think that's Brad Bird for you, is like, Brad Bird's big thing that he does for this movie is like, what if none of the things they get work properly?
What if he just absolutely fucks himself up on that window frame? And what if he has a broken leg for the entire final fight? So our mission. I don't think I've had more fun typing one of these than I have for this, because it's a good old school plot. An insane Russian nuclear strategist steals some launch codes, frames the IMF for an attack on the fucking Kremlin, forcing the president to enact Ghost Protocol, which basically disbands the IMF and forces Ethan and his team to prevent nuclear war without any backup. That's a bonkers plot, quite frankly.
Yeah. Great.
But I'm kind of into it as a sort of, we've had shorting stock options, and we've had trying to become the head of the utilities in this impoverished nation, and now it's a good old-fashioned mad Russian nuclear war plot,
He literally has nothing more to him than that. It's just like, he does a speech, and he's just like, what if everyone was dead?
What if nukes were part of the natural order that we artificially created? Oh, goodness. Right, there's going to be a lot here. It's probably going to be about 30 minutes of praise, 20 minutes of criticism, and then we'll wrap up. Here we go. Ethan starts the movie in a Moscow prison, which Benji and our new agent, Agent Carter, is in this movie. Help him escape from. Before that, though, Leia Seydow kills Josh Holloway in Budapest for no apparent reason right now. So I didn't really want to write much about it, but Josh Holloway in a film. Who would have thought?
Josh Holloway deserves to be in more movies because he's such a goddamn star in this opening set piece.
He's fine.
I think he's great.
He's got the Samson thing going on, and without the Sawyer hair, I'm no longer interested in him. They really commit to not showing Ethan's face for a little bit in the prison, while you've got Simon Pegg and Paula Patton doing their stuff, and I like this beat of like the music almost activates him, and then he like jumps over the balcony, and him moving around this prison set to music is actually really, really fun, I think, and sulking his, pouting into camera until Benji does what he wants, and going and grabbing his friend. And at first it's like, is he just trying to save the guards who are very clearly going to get beaten to death by all these prisoners they've released? Or, no, he's just looking for one person and he has to fight his way through. Yeah, I think it's a fun little opening scene. It got changed a lot. Like, it originally opened with Hendrix's speech and something else, I don't know, but yeah, they changed it around, and I think this is really fun. It's nice to see Benji in the field replacing Luther.
Yeah, I mean, my first text to you was like, this is the best directed movie that we've watched so far, just because there's a really nice fluidity to, like, all the action beats and, like, the way everyone moves and the way everything's kind of cut together, where you just understand everything that's kind of going on. All the stuff with doors and opening and closing, and they're all colour-coded, and it just flows so well that...
He moves the camera really well, and I think he conveys visual information extremely well. The briefing scene they're going to have in about an hour, I think, is actually subtly one of the best ones of those you will see. And setting it to the music and everything, it's all really fun. And then the diegetic fuse, like the lighting of the fuse, which has always been, an element of these movies, but is, part of a non-diegetic title sequence. But here it's like sort of part of the actual movie. And then they revived this old tradition of showing the full events of the movie, but it's done in a more subtle way, in a more stylized way.
It's not in order, so it's not like you can see
it kind of. I guess it starts with... I don't know. Yeah, it sort of vaguely is.
I just remember, like, Burj Khalifa kind of, like, not being where I expected it to be in the, like, order of events, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, and it's not, like, like Mission Impossible 1, you can see that Jim is secretly evil if you just pay attention to those opening credits, whereas this is much more like, oh shit, that looks like that's going to be a crazy stunt. I can't wait to see that in about 20 minutes, an hour, whatever. Yeah, a very confident opening, and if anyone had any doubts that Brad Bird could do it with, real human people, he's done it.
He's done it immediately.
Carter informs Ethan that Agent Hanaway, Josh Holloway, was killed by an international assassin, Leia Seydow. They'd done a mission to get these nuclear launch codes away from someone bad, I don't know, and then Moreau steals them off Hanaway's corpse, and that's the events from the cold open, if you will. And Ethan suspects an IMF target known as Cobalt. Bogdan, the man he rescued, goodbye to him. The last time we'll see him, for sure.
I just quite enjoy the whole bit where, like, they're having this conversation and, like, it's all kind of cross purposes, and then in the end, Ethan just shoots him in the neck with a tranquilizer dart.
Sergey, are you not Russian? Sergey, are you not Sergey? Do you know what would have been good? If he was Dmitri. If this was an ongoing cover he has. Yeah, I think it's a nice little comedic little bit, and then him being passed from one van to another, and I kind of wish he didn't come back, but we'll get to that later. It's really fun seeing one of these, like, elaborate missions without Ethan being involved, and it just doesn't go right, because, like, they seem like they've got all the elements, like, they're doing all the stuff they would normally do, and then it just doesn't work because only Ethan is our magical golden child who can make it work.
But I enjoyed that the first set piece of this movie is also a quite well-oiled, like, thing that's going to go off, and everything seems to be going right, and then Ethan's just like, yes, but what if I didn't do what you wanted me to do?
He's not going to the extraction point. Yes, because he's insane. And that's his superpower. That's how he survives. And it's like later when Renner is asking him, like, what did you imagine they were thinking when you did that? He's like, I don't think they were thinking anything. I just do things.
I just do things, and people react how I kind of hope them to react.
A dangerously insane human being.
This other mission, I just really like. Josh Holloway with the kind of, like, the pin on the ring in the back of the guy's hand, and then immediately moving him onto the thing, putting the hat over his head.
Yeah.
I know, again, it's just a nice flow to how everything goes.
I like that all three movies now have done this version of this event. Like, Casino Royale did it in the museum, Bourne Ultimatum did it in the station, and they're doing it in another train station, of, like, taking someone out in a public place and trying to make it look smooth. It's fun. I like seeing...
He has a backpack that's got an inflatable thing in the back of it, Matt. What's not to love?
That was pretty fun when he threw that off the roof, yeah. I like them acknowledging IMF isn't just Ethan Hunt and his two friends, like, it is a large agency with multiple operatives and all that. And Carter's, a rare example of a male fridging, arguably, as Holloway is in and out, and he existed only to cause some pain for Carter. But it gives her... We'll talk about that later, but yeah. They start dropping these hints about Julia. When he goes to the payphone, which is how he gets his his mission this time, the little eye scanner. Less creative, I think, than the Polaroid camera and everything, but sorry, the disposable camera. And while he's over there, Benji and Carter are talking, and he says he disappeared after he and his wife, and we'll put a big pin in that because they never quite say what happened, and you are left to believe that she left him, basically, or they split up, but... And that video phone, the payphone, not self-destructing properly. Is this a dig at Russia and, like, you know, all this broken old tech and everything?
No, I think it's just kind of like setting up the tone for the movie, because obviously, like, so much of their stuff breaks. Like the glove breaks very early on into the mission. The master machine breaks. It's kind of going like, these guys aren't going to be working with like the best material. They won't have anyone to go talk to. I think it is just that kind of thing. It's setting up what's going to be. They're going to have to think their way out of this without using the tools that you might expect from a Mission Impossible movie.
It's funny because if you do that in the first film in a franchise, it comes across as the whole thing as a parody and a joke, but when you're doing it 4 films in, it's like, it's more you're subverting tropes, and then it becomes artistically good. So they break into the fucking Kremlin 20 minutes into the movie, or less, and Ethan and Benji are beaten to it in their task of, I don't know, Cobalt's trying to steal the launch thing or a file. The script is a fucking mess, quite frankly, but Brad Bird does a good job, actors do good job, so we'll let them away with it. But Cobalt beats them to it, so they have to abort the mission, and Ethan is hospitalised by a mysterious explosion.
Mysterious explosion. They blow up the Kremlin. Real good.
They do. It looks terrible.
It does look terrible.
Continuing the Mission Impossible tradition of all the CGI looking utterly awful.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like the practical looks great. The bit where they like devolve into just outright CGI, it's kind of like, oh no, this needed a bit more time.
Mm-hmm. This absolutely ludicrous portable screen thing in the corridor is god tier gadgetry.
It's so incredible. They never explain how it works, which is insane. Like, it's not like Benji kind of goes like, and then if I put the iPad inside, it will like scan where his eyes are looking, and he'll like only be able to see the room. Like, you 100% understand how this fucking thing works.
Yeah.
And that is entirely the strength of kind of Brad Bird.
Yeah,
I think,
no
like,
exposition about, you know, no cue explaining the device or anything like that. Just here is some gadgetry they brought with them, and Brad Bird, as you said, like, communicates how it works just through direction, and that is like the heart of directing, is communicating non-verbally. Yeah, and the little directional, it's not a directional microphone, it's the opposite really. It's like making a like dripping sound to distract him, and as you said, like, it's tracking where the guy's looking so that the corridor looks right from his eye line, so that if he moves slightly to the right, it doesn't change. And then when others turn up and it can't figure it out, and it's like when you close your left eye, your right eye, that kind of thing, where it's like moving left and right, and then suddenly there's 6 of them and it's just blinking out of control. A really, really cool thing. Utterly fucking ridiculous, but cool.
This is the kind of sequence that is why this movie is so good, and whilst watching it, I was kind of sitting there going like, God, is this movie genuinely incredible? Is this like a lost masterpiece that not enough people like appreciate? And obviously people love the Mission Impossible movies, but I'm like, Ghost Protocol will quite often end up like middle of the pack at this point for Mission Impossible movies. Like, sometimes you find people go like, oh, the first Mission Impossible is better than this, and I'm sat there watching it this time going like, this is genuinely kind of incredible. It's just fun
for a while.
It has a pace. It's not letting go.
Yeah.
And I'm having the best time, and I'm like, wow, weird that the movie's still got like another 2 hours to go, but we'll just see where.
Yeah. Sass walked in and was like, I showed her this scene, and it was like, yeah, this is cool. And the Burj Khalifa stuff, kind of cool. And then, but she didn't see much of the first hour, so she, by the end of it, was like, this movie isn't good. And I was like, the first hour kind of is. And yeah, it's... Yeah, and this little screen is actually a little nod to the TV show, which used a far more low-tech version of it, so that's nice. I like Cobalt as this kind of, like, silver fox who's, like, framing them up real good, talking on their radio frequency and be like, yes, go ahead, leader, I'll trigger the detonation, and all of that, and, like, walking right past Tom Cruise, and all of that is really good, and I thought this villain was going to be better than he was based on this scene, but never mind. Tom Cruise's fucking Russian officer jacket is reversible, and that's,
it's so cool.
That's Just, what the fuck, but good.
It's all done in one shot as well. He, takes it off, like Tom Cruise taking off a jacket, putting on a jacket. Great physical actor.
Bruce
Love
Springsteen, t-shirt, obviously, the glasses, the hat, the map, all good stuff. And then he runs away terribly from a terrible CGI earthquake.
He runs away greatly because Tom Cruise is the best on-screen runner.
He's gotten worse at it as he's gotten older because...
I mean, Mission Impossible 3 is peak Tom Cruise running movie.
Yes, but...
I mean, maybe Fallout tops it at this point. He doesn't.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's a lot of running in Fallout.
Okay. So he wakes up in a hospital. He flees because the Russian authority... it looks like IMF did this. Ethan calls for an extraction. He is met by... They just call him the secretary, and I think he's referred to as the IMF secretary. Are we reading...
He's uncredited, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's Tom Wilkinson, but, are we reading this as the Secretary of Defence, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs?
I think he is just the IMF secretary. Okay. He is the same role as Anthony Hopkins and Lawrence Fishburne in the previous...
okay, sure. Who tells him Ghost Protocol is in effect? I already explained it once, don't make me do it again.
Because everyone knows what Ghost Protocol is. It's a well-known thing. Yes. This title makes sense.
Yes. He is accompanied by William Brandt, who is a chief analyst for the IMF. Before he's basically like, look, Ethan, you're going to prison, but if you were to escape, if you were to assault the two of us and escape and go to the one safe house I forgot about and do this, and this, then maybe, but then he gets killed. And Ethan and Brent get away. So, in the hospital, I really like the subtitles being in Russian and gradually changing to English as Ethan, regains full consciousness. I think that's a really nice beat. As I said, reading lips in Russian, just madness. Ethan Hunt is a perfect man, apparently. I really like... So, this Russian policeman, whose name I've forgotten already.
Anatoly Sidorov. Just watching him shimmy out onto the balcony and just light up a cigarette and be like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, go ahead. Did this seem like a good idea?
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
we're on the fifth story of the building.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, it seemed it at the time. And then, instead, he uses his belt and, a telephone wire to zipline down onto a moving van, roll off the top, shirtless, on concrete, not a scratch on him, fuck you. Cruise does all his stunts. Did he do this? Did he do a roll on concrete, shirtless? That's painful. I wouldn't do it. But who knows? The cop character, he's going to be in it a surprising amount for how little impact he has on
it. It feels like a kind of Tintin riff in some ways, where it's like the international police are chasing him because they think that they know who's done it, and it's all done for comedy, but it's like this section of the plot got yanked out and all you get is the kind of comedic endpoint for it. I mean, Tom Cruise looks like shit at the top of that building as well. Yeah. Is important to know. He looks so bad. I don't know what's going on. It's like he has ribs and then they just kind of cut in directly and it's like, have you emaciated yourself, or is this something they've done in CGI?
He's supposed to have been in prison, I guess, but
it's just he looks so weird.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how many roles is Tom Cruise is shirtless in? And I don't think he has been in the first 3 Mission Impossibles.
Is he just a very weirdly shaped person?
Maybe. And I don't know. It's an odd choice to take your shirt off for the first... probably not the first time, but, for one of the first times in your, 40s.
I mean, he's definitely topless in Top Gun.
Yes. Okay. But, to not do it for so long and then do it, and it's like, oh, you look strange. Sinewy. There's this whole plot with this Russian dude that Hendrix approaches and oh, we have to get our kid and run, and then, oh, you're sitting in the living room now, and it's I feel this is something that there was some plot cut because it just doesn't quite pay off, but hey.
It probably is going to be Christopher McQuarrie walks into the room and goes, right, what can I cut? And he goes, oh god, this thing with the guy who has to know the codes, that can't stay in there. And they go, we've already shot the entire Burj Khalifa thing, we can't just have a guy there who, we don't know who it is in the movie.
True. And now here's Jeremy Renner to ruin everything for everyone. I like Ethan, again, more superpowers, perfectly sketching Hendrix on his palm with a biro in, 10 seconds?
But then Jeremy Renner's just I
know who that is, yeah.
But the drawing's not great, but from the description I can probably intuit who it is.
Yes, and he also has the encyclopedic memory, much like Ethan.
Is Jeremy Renner supposed to be playing Jack Ryan? I mean, it's just when they say analyst, I'm just isn't that what Jack Ryan is before he became president of the United States of America?
Jack Ryan becomes president of the United States of America?
Oh, are you not up to date on the books? Yeah, Jack Ryan's president of the United States of America.
Oh my god. We did a whole Mission Impossible 2 podcast, and that's the craziest thing we've said so far.
So, occupation of Jack Ryan, complete tangent right now. USC Second Lieutenant, Professor of US Naval Academy, CIA Special Assistant, Acting Deputy Director for Intelligence at the CIA, Deputy Director of the CIA, National Security Advisor, US Vice President, US President are his occupations.
No. Je refuse.
For 2 administrations.
Is John Krasinski going to play the president one day?
I don't. He's been president since 1996, Matt. I don't understand why you're so confused.
Because who reads Jack Ryan books?
Many people. Why do you think there are 6 actors who have played Jack Ryan at this point? Or 5 actors.
Look, whatever. Brandt and Hunt are off together. He's asking the questions. They meet up with Benji and Carter at this last IMF safe house, which is a moving train, which is fun. Ethan briefs them on Hendricks' associate, who's going to buy codes from Moreau at the Burj Hotel in Dubai. So, yeah, Renner annoying Cruz while trying to, learn from him is, I don't know if I guess it is more, trying to, as we said, be like, hey, do you think about these things? And him just be like, nah, not really. But you could also see it as, he's becoming his protege. And it's...
Well, that's the thing is, I just quite enjoy, obviously, the car they're in hits the water, and
yes.
They're trying to, get oxygen, and so Ethan just kind of connects a flare to the corpse of Tom Wilkinson and sends it across the river, and everyone starts shooting it. And Brandt's just like, why do you think that would work? Why would they think that someone would light a flare underwater and then swim it away? It's like, I don't know, people, they're dumb, they don't think about things.
What did you think they were thinking in that moment? I didn't think they were thinking anything.
And then they try and get on the train.
Yeah, the moving train car that they have to do a retinal scan on, and he has to, jump onto the side, hold still.
He keeps on, trying to... He does the first thing, and it's like, right, cool, I can get on now.
Press
no, you
enter.
need to do the second thing.
and he puts in the code, and then they keep running, and then press enter. Oh, for fuck's sake. And
it's all these little bits that feel like such Brad Birdisms, where it's just it can't go 100% correctly, and it probably is something that on set they're just like, wouldn't it be funny if it didn't go right? What if...
Yeah. And then, as I said, this scene where Tom Cruise is pointing at all these different screens that each have a different person on, and he's going, this person is going to meet this person to get it for this person. And it's not flashy, but it works incredibly well, I think. The physical space and having these giant pictures of them up on the screen as, it's helpful for an audience who might be quite confused about what the fuck the plot is at this point. To be like, oh, this is happening with this person here. Boom.
Who knew that hiring someone who worked in animation, which is all about kind of limited use of information to convey an awful lot in kind of a limited time frame, would be a good person to do these kind of info dump set pieces.
And I think because I don't want to sound like I'm being dismissive here, but because you have total control of what your image looks like, and to a degree that you kind of don't as much with live action. You have to physically get these things, whereas you can draw a scene to look however you want. And I think because of that, you have a much greater sort of sense of a clearer picture of what you want it to look like, because they literally have a picture of what they want it to look like. And as you said, animation famous for our script came in at 23 minutes and we had to make it 21 minutes, so we had to be precise as shit and cut things down. And they make this elaborate plan to go to the Burj Hotel and make both parties believe they're in the correct room, the same room, when they're in fact in different rooms on different floors, and they will double them to each other, and basically each party will think they've traded the thing and they have given both to IMF instead. Sure. Before they can do that, though, they need to get into the hotel's server room on the, 200th floor, 135th floor, something like this. And this
Burj Khalifa is a very tall building, I think.
The tallest building.
The tallest building. There is a building that will be taller.
Yes.
But it is not finished yet.
No. And I do like the degree to which Benji is like, oh, I could have done this, and this, if we had resources and time, but we don't have any of that. So you're going to have to climb up the outside.
And very helpfully, Brandt's there the entire time, kind of going this is the amount of time we have until the meet. And there's a ticking clock to this first section of it, which is
it's
fun.
A more effective ticking clock than they had in MI3 with the skyscraper scene there, where it was oh, we've got 2 hours. Oh, we've got 20 minutes. Oh, we've got 8 minutes. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because even though it's not 5 minutes, I mean, it actually might be done in real time. I'm not actually sure if it is done in real time or not.
I do not know. But, yeah. While they're, driving over there, Brandt is just very casually oh, it's the tallest building in the world. And then when Benji is you're going to have to climb the outside, it's okay, that's why you said that. Because you really, really, really want to stress this is a big fucking building. And yeah, like running through, oh, well, yeah, of course I could just hack it remotely, but we don't have the support from IMF, so you're going to have to climb up the outside. And seeing Ethan actually be like, do I have to? While the other two are kind of like, go on, off you go. Is actually really refreshing, I think.
I can't remember what the other excuses are, where it's like Benji's like, oh, I've got to be on the computer, and
Yeah, exactly.
like oh, we can't do it. Oh no, Brant's just like, I'm just the help. Like,
Well, because they called him that. He's like, what will I do? And you're the helper. And yeah, he's like, yeah, we need to do this. He's like, we? He's like, well, obviously I'm on the computer. Simon Pegg is really good in this, I think.
like the smartest, well, maybe not the smartest decision, but it's a good decision to have someone who is more comedic in the field. And I mean, like, obviously the worst case scenario would have been if they'd hired Ricky Gervais for the last movie, and we had Ricky Gervais following us around now, because Simon Pegg...
Well, I doubt he would have graduated to the field agent role that Simon Pegg did.
I mean, that's the thing, Simon Pegg gets buff.
He does,
kind
Hot
of
Fuzz, thanks.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz gets him buff, and then after that he kind of becomes, not Hollywood leading man, but like Hollywood number 3 on the call sheet kind of thing.
Like a recognisable face in mainstream movies worldwide, not just little British things.
And Paul.
And Paul. What an insane thing this is, as they cut the window out. And like, also there's a sandstorm coming and they've just taken out one of the windows. It's like, surely you would fuck up this hotel. And then yeah, him going out in his little climbing outfit with his little tiny shoes.
Blue is glue, red is dead.
Blue is glue, red is dead. The camera, like, following him out of the window frame from above.
Is this the first IMAX shot in the movie? Like, is this the only sequence in the movie that's done in IMAX? Because
they got a lot of IMAX stuff, and I think it said they filmed 70 minutes of stuff in IMAX, which is crazy. But this must have looked real good, because it looks real good in non-IMAX in just my home. Just that sense of, you would assume this is all just trickery, but they did this. Tom Cruise was hanging off the Burj Khalifa with an immense number of cables and whatnot. But they did this, and that camera, it tracks him as he goes from inside of that building to outside of that building, looking straight down. And, the advantage of Tom Cruise doing his own stunts is that you can take these long shots, as in, like, length of shot, and you can do them up close, and you can show him, you don't have to hide him, you don't have to do cuts, and you can just be like, look, this is what this is. And I am sure most people are walking around being like, oh, that's fake, but, like, at least it's a good-looking fake if that's what you think it is. Insane. What a crazy scene. One of the gloves stops working. He fucking falls at one point and then grabs back on. So he's climbing with, like, he's got one super adhesive thing, and then the rest is just him pushing his feet and other hand outwards into the frames. It's like, good thing you chose to climb a spot where that's possible, you dick.
I mean, that's the thing is, what I love so much about this is it looks fucking great.
Yeah.
It's so well shot by Brad Bird, and I do not have enough good things to say about Brad Bird for this movie, where he just has such an immense sense of control and timing and pacing, and coming off of kind of not 3 or 4 back-to-back, but like very Bourne-esque movies in terms of how they're shot and edited. Yeah. To have this clean stunt sequence, which is just like all about the process and how it works. And
a little bit lighthearted despite trying to... I guess 3 was quite heavy, but it's got some heavy stuff in there, but like the tone is overall pretty lighthearted, and like you can see why. Like, they literally cast him for how he handled The Incredibles and the sort of spy stuff happening there, which is a lighter element compared to the overall film, but like he brings that whole tone and like more of like the comedy stuff of like, he just tosses that glove away when it's not working. It's like, what if it had just started working again in a minute? You don't want to just hold on to it. And
but then, that's my favourite thing, is like it goes up though.
Yeah, it's flapped away and it's like attached itself higher up. Great stuff. Kicking out the fucking window frame, again, with only one hand to keep him attached to the side, and just leaping back and kicking his way in. Kind of fucks himself up on the landing, coming in with the glass everywhere. Does what he needs to do, then he has to get back down, but he has to do it quickly, so he grabs, like, some cable or something, and, like, fucking abseils down the side.
But it's not long enough.
Or he's, like, sprinting down the side, and then it's not long enough, and, like, Brant is like... Doesn't Brant even say it's not long enough? And he's like, no shit! And then he runs the other way, so that he can kick off, sail around, cut his cord at the right moment, and then he fucking wipes himself out on the top part of the frame. And if not for Brant and Carter being quick enough to catch him, dead Ethan Gunn. Which just really, really hammers home. He is not in control of any situation.
It's so good.
If only this were the climax the climactic action scene of the fucking film.
Yeah. Is this the moment when Mission Impossible becomes Mission Impossible? Like, I do think J.J. Abrams' involvement is kind of like where modern Mission Impossible starts, but I think this stunt is where the series becomes like, we're going to be the insane process movie.
Well, I don't know, because this is the last one of these I have seen before.
Oh,
so...
okay. Okay.
I do know they do some ridiculous stuff, and there's a thing with a plane where Tom Cruise nearly died.
Yeah, that is a thing that they do.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I love the end to this set piece where they drag Ethan back inside, and then Benji's just like, I did it, I changed all the numbers on the doors.
It was tricky there, but I did it, yeah. What did I miss? And they're just like, fuck you, Benji.
And then Lea Seydoux shows up.
So they, Ethan and Carter impersonate the relevant parties. Things go south. Carter kicks Moreau out a window. Ethan chases Winstrom through a sandstorm. It's Hendrix. He gets away. Okay, so let's do it. Brandt has to basically be their facial recognition software because they don't have any of that going on, and he's just looking at security cameras and being like, oh, that's blah blah. The mask machine craps out, like you said, like sprays too much skin tone on one point, ruins the masks. But they go it, and he is not in control. He's just working off a hunch. He's like, hey, what if they've never seen each other before?
They're about to open the door.
Let's just go for it. Let's just go and just be them as ourselves. And then you have this scene playing out, and I really like Carter just waiting for the actual Moreau to say something, and then saying her exact line, to just try and mimic the way she talks, because it is actually how she talks. I mean, lucky that Wistrom isn't like, hey, you're being quite silent. But yeah, this is kind of a good scene, and like, the two separate but identical tense scenes playing out. And
I love the camera move where it just kind of pans down from one to the other. I love the really bizarre touch where Jane puts down the exact same thing that's on the table in the room above them for like no discernible reason, really.
Yeah, just to sell the scene.
it does, but it makes it so clean because like, the movie's cross-cutting between these two things, and they're sat in the same locations in both versions of it, and like it's just
Simon Pegg walking in and just doing the creepy fake hand shit to swipe the diamonds, which he puts in a teacup, which he brings in as room service, and like that's ostensibly how Tom Cruise, or how Ethan and Brandt are like, oh, this is where the diamonds are, we're having them brought in by room service. So the original plan is Renner is wearing a contact lens that he can't see through, that if he blinks twice, takes a picture, which will print a scrambled version of the document into the briefcase in the other room.
Because they don't want Wistrom to have the real nuclear codes.
Yes, but don't they change it so that
because Wistrom brings with him
someone
an actual
who can
nuclear code expert. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So he has to, on the fly, change it. And Brandt is like, I'll throw these out the fucking window. Like, I don't give a shit. But they're like, look, if he doesn't get them today, he will just go get them tomorrow. Can you say for sure that this isn't the best way to stop him here and now? And he relents because he's an analyst. Or is he? I do like that Lea Seydoux notices that Renner is sitting there blinking like a crazy person and like physically sees the lens on his eye in a minute, which I don't know if she would be able to, but
I mean Hanaway wore one as well.
Yeah, true. And I do like that. We didn't mention it, but like he sees her, and then that prompts a text to his phone that says "Warning Assassin," and looking down is what gets him killed. We get a girl fight because Carter has to fight Moreau, and meanwhile, like, Ethan is running around after what they think is Wistrom. Wistrom has killed this expert, blah blah blah. The Russian police dudes intervene, and it feels kind of uncharacteristic to follow through on this character, but it also kind of feels like it's derailing the plot constantly. But I kind of see what you're saying about the Tintin thing of like, that's on purpose. It's just, I think just the execution of it could have paid off a bit better. It's another
wrinkle to the plot to have someone else who is ostensibly a good guy following him around because he doesn't understand what's going on, and like it adds to the tension of the scene where like Hunt is following Wistrom down the stairs, and then the police officer spies him, and then the shootout starts, and Wistrom gets away, and it kicks off. And the most bizarre thing about this is you're sat there and you're kind of going like, how isn't this the end of the movie?
I know. Oh my god. I was, like you said, in my head, they run from this hotel to that car park at the end. And that's the end. And I looked at the runtime. I was like, how the fucking Christ is there 55 minutes left in this movie unless the end credits are 30 minutes long? And I'm going to start sounding more annoyed from this point on. Like I said,
the car chase in the sandstorm, good, like that.
I guess. Like, yeah, you don't see a lot of sandstorm scenes, and it's visually kind of interesting, but yeah, and like the whole time I was like, why isn't this just Hendrix? Like, why are we spending so much time with Wistrom when we're at the end? And I was like, because it's not the end, and it is Hendrix.
But again, this has to be, they filmed this already, they couldn't go back and redo the Burj Khalifa stuff. Macquarie's just like, oh god, do I really have to go through with this? Like, it feels like remnants of an older, more complex plot.
Quite frankly, this should have been the climax of the movie. There shouldn't have even been a Wistrom, it should have just been Hendrix, like, openly. And Ethan should have stopped him at the end. And then we all get to go home earlier. Carter has kicked Moreau out of a window and, like, you know, wrapped up her sort of through line. And that fight is good because they're both doing their own stunts and you can tell they are. Like, it's not the smoothest fight in the world for, like, an international assassin and an international special agent, but it's good enough.
Léa Seydoux and Paul Patton are good in this movie.
Yeah.
I've not seen Léa Seydoux in the Bond movies that she's in. I have to assume that she's hired because she's good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's alright, Inspector, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. She's just great. More stuff with Léa Seydoux, please. But yeah, I just want us to all have gone home half an hour earlier than we get to, because, like, I made this complaint in 3, that I think everything after the interrogation is kind of bad, but then the ending is good. This made me long for Mission Impossible 3's version of this. This might be the most egregious example of a film being too long I have ever seen, because, like, we talk about how Last Jedi feels like it's emotionally finished, and then they go to that planet at the end, but like the stuff that happens after that is at least good. It's just it feels like it's too long. I fucking hate everything that happens after this pretty much, with a couple of exceptions, but like quite frankly my description here is Ethan does a bunch of bullshit that leads them to a rich dude's party in Mumbai, because he has to go and meet Bogdan, who links him up with his brother, who is an arms dealer, and Ethan deliberately gets himself ratted on, and he leads him to Mumbai. It's like he's buying an old Soviet satellite, which he can use to launch the nukes, and the only good thing happening here is Ethan outing Brandt as more than just an analyst, and that is a really fun exchange when he, like, points the gun at him and then he takes it off him and then he, you know, they're like going back and forth and he dismantles the gun. It's like, it's a lot of skill for an analyst. And then he has to reveal his secret, but he does it when Ethan isn't in the room, because giant bombshell to drop an hour in. He was assigned to protect Ethan and Julia, and it went badly and Julia died, and then Ethan murdered the people that did it and got himself put in prison, is how we are presented the events. It will later turn out to all be a deception. But yeah, it's a heavy thing. And when he's like, I never saw the husband again until 3 days ago in a car with the secretary or whatever. And it's like, oh shit, this is interesting. But this might be the last good thing that happens until the literal end, in my opinion.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think it's very obvious that Brandt's plot has been, like, completely aborted, because, like, you get the scene in the hotel where Brandt knows how to, like, dismantle the gun and take out the guards, and Ethan's just going to go like, ooh, who are you? We need to have a conversation about this. Then the movie just kind of goes, like, the next scene where it's just like, here's his backstory, and he will have nothing to do, really, in the final fight scene, because Benji's going to save the day.
Do you think at one point they filmed this scene or were planning to film this flashback? Because, I mean, I think him standing there and delivering it, he's doing a good job. Like, Renner, as we discussed in Hurt Locker, for his many flaws as a real human being, can bring it when he's motivated enough to act.
I don't know whether or not, like, this was always the plan for the backstory, but it feels like maybe this was the plan for the backstory, but it feels like...
Oh, the whole thing was... Oh, okay.
Like Tom Cruise breaking his leg, or like Ethan breaking his leg, feels like he gets sidelined, and
then Brandt has to do it all.
Yeah, it feels like that's kind of what they're building to, but instead Corey comes in and kind of goes like, no, Ethan Hunt is the hero of this movie.
Yeah, and do you know what adds even more credence to all of this? The fucking car park is in Dubai, and they're saying it's in India, but they shot it in Dubai, so it's like, this very well could have been, like, the next scene, and then have Brandt do a bunch of shit after that. I don't know, but the dude that makes Ethan put a mask on, I don't know if you caught this, is the dude that made him put one on to meet Max in the first Mission Impossible.
I
don't know if it's supposed to be the same character, but it's the same actor.
That's fun.
And then they go to Mumbai, And again, I think this hotel was in Dubai. That's meant to be this dude's house, I guess. All of this is awful. Carter having to seduce him to get the codes, the weird floating magnet suit shit.
I like the weird float. Again, at this point, I'm so checked out of like what the plot is, but the action set pieces are visually interesting enough that I'm still into it. I'm not kind of going like, this is the best action movie of like the last 10 years or so, kind of pumped, but I'm still kind of going like, no, I enjoy how it all looks, how it's all connecting together. The weird cuckishness of like Emil Kapoor is interesting. I don't know why anyone looked at Slumdog Millionaire and was just like, yes, we should hire this guy to be...
I don't know why any of this is in the movie. I really don't. I think it's all just a bunch of bullshit that, like... And especially following Dubai with this.
Yeah, no, it's a massive come down. Like, in my head, it's like, it's a 5-star movie coming down to a 3-star movie.
Yeah, quite frankly.
Like, it's a pretty seismic drop. But the things that I think are interesting are, like, the characters being quiet and just letting Brad Bird direct them around. I'm digging it.
I guess. Simon Pegg explaining the magnet suit to Jeremy Renner is more fun than it actually happening, in my opinion, where he keeps going like, and I'll catch you. And he's like, oh, and now there's this. So it'll be hot, will it? Yes. Oh, yeah. It'll get pretty hot. So I'm basically jumping into an oven. Yeah, and I'll catch you. All of that is fun, but then seeing it and seeing Jeremy Renner like floating through corridors, that's a step far for my personal taste of like campy secret agent bullshittery, but each to their own. Yeah, and then it all is just for nothing because Hendrix just gets there first. So they've just done all this elaborate bullshit and they didn't need to do any of it. But I guess that's what we keep doing here.
I mean, that's not... It's the spy movie cliche, and you know they're going to have to do it at the last minute. The movie just kind of keeps on moving what the parameters of the last minute are, where it's like, we're going to stop him before he launches the nuke. Oh shit, he's launched the nuke. We've now got, whilst the rocket's in the air, time to kind of... stop him from doing it, and it keeps the tension going, but you're always kind of back of mind going like, well, they're going to have to save the day. It'd be ballsy for this movie to end with him nuking San Francisco.
Goodbye, Pixar headquarters. The BMW i8 is a beautiful fucking car. I don't really give a shit about cars, but that electric car he's driving around is very pretty. But yeah, he has to race across Mumbai to make it to the like abandoned TV station that Hendrix is using to connect to the satellite that he's bought off Bridge North, and like, yeah, just who could care at this point, in my opinion? But
that's the, like it. I don't care. I think Michael Nyqvist is fine as the villain, but he's so incredibly boring, and there is nothing more to him than he is literally a cipher for plot to happen around him.
There's a version of this that's really good, like this sort of... I was digging his first appearance as this kind of like silver-haired cat burglar almost that is just a step ahead of them. But then it's just like, what if he were just a crazy man about nuclear war and you don't really see him that much, and... somehow he can kick Ethan's... I mean, I know he breaks Ethan's leg, but like he sort of is Ethan's most enduring physical challenge in the series to date, and yet he's not even like a fighter man. He's an analyst. He's what Brandt claimed to be. He's a strategist.
It's one of those things where like there's such a gap between the script and the visuals on the screen, and I think someone who is kind of more in line with like, I want story or interesting plot stuff, and I'm kind of sat there going like, this looks great, feels great, I'm super into like the mechanics of everything that's going on. I'm still able to like derive some enjoyment of it because I'm just watching Brad Bird do all this stuff, and like the set piece in the parking garage is really good. I just love how kind of minimalist it gets, and then ultimately when like Hunt's about to win, Hendrix kind of go like, well, fuck you, I'm just going to kill myself because I don't give a shit.
He's truly committed to his ideals, and then that doesn't even work. I like it goes the other way. Things keep not quite working out, and then it happens to him because he throws himself off with the hope that it will damage the case, and also it'll be too far away for Hunt to get to, and then the case is fine, and Hunt just fucking drives a car over the edge and nosedives into the ground, while you've got like Wistrom teleporting back inside the building, Carter not realising she's been shot, so she has to stand and watch Simon Pegg do things, while Brandt gets to take down this character that was not in any way fully developed. The Russians exonerate Ethan. That cop shows up and is like, you're telling the truth, we are friends.
You're telling the truth, and Ethan's just like, oh fucking finally, this guy gets it.
This guy gets it. And he says mission accomplished. And I do like that when we cut to however many months later or weeks later, Luther in his cameo is like, you said mission accomplished. That's good stuff. And he's having to dig this warhead out of the bottom of San Francisco Bay because, it's flying right at the fucking pyramid building thing in San Francisco. And it hits it and then just crashes into the water. It's like, I'm pretty sure, I'm not saying that they could shoot it out of the air, but that, this is happening while everyone's oblivious and there's no, our missile defense system has been triggered, there's a missile coming. Oh, no, we can't get to it in time. That none of that is happening is a bit jarring, that it's just... And I guess they're trying to sell that thing of what Benji says, of, these people are just walking around living their lives and they almost all died. Oh, it's mad, isn't it? And it's like... Yeah, I guess it is, but aggressive middle finger to everything between Dubai and the pier at the end, in my opinion, including the car park. I didn't really enjoy seeing the two of them just scramble around, not very gracefully in this car park, and Ethan's got the broken leg, and Hendrix isn't an uber athlete, so they're just sort of frantically scrambling around. I like the case going under the car, and then he has to climb over the car and drop down to the car. That stuff's good, I suppose, but
I do think it's a step down, but the stuff that's keeping me going is kind of going the plot's now kind of tanked, but Brad Bird is holding this together, the actors are holding it together. But yeah, I can't say that this movie is great all the way through, because it does just kind of become less interesting in the last hour. The emotional climax happens, and then you're you could make this kind of quite a clean 90-minute movie if you really wanted to.
I would just be singing the goddamn praises of this movie if they went from Dubai to the car park to the end. They would have to do some legwork to make that connect right, but yeah, and Ethan offers them all a phone to come back and be agents again, and Ethan and Carter get a little "how are you doing" with your loved one being dead thing, and then it turns out Julia's not even fucking dead. But yeah, they all go off, and Brandt only accepts his phone after Ethan tells him, oh, that was all fake, you got set up, I did this so that she could get a new identity and be safe away from me, and I could get into the prison to get intel about Hendrix, which is why he knows everything about Cobalt at the beginning. Kind of a twist on the Prague mission in the first one, where it's a mission to rat out a mole? To find a mole, but now Ethan is the one pulling the strings, and just her in the distance, watching her slowly walk up the pier, and then Brandt walks away, and then Ethan watches her from the distance, and she turns just in time to see him, and it's is that guy she's with supposed to be her new boyfriend or husband?
I think it's just a co-worker from the hospital.
But yeah, quite a bold thing to be oh, she died, and then another bold thing to be oh, she's alive, but they're not together anymore, after they made this huge deal of him being able to actually have the happy life in 3. But then again, this idea that he loves doing this because he just walks off listening to his next mission and disappears into the smoke. I
think the next mission is setting up the villains in Rogue Nation.
Oh, is it actually? Oh, they've taken control of all of our drones.
I don't think the drones are involved, but I think the Syndicate are the...
Oh, the Syndicate, yes. Very Spectre. I would have said this is one of the best movies we've covered, but I'm so pissed off at that last bit that's knocking it down into the top of the middle tier for me.
That's fine. I've got it number 2 on my unofficial ranking that I'm doing. I just think that first hour is so good.
It's really good, but you can't. I can't overlook a film that is really good and then gets bad. It's the same reason that I can't, in good conscience, say that I think Casino Royale is better than Skyfall, because while the end of Skyfall is a tonal shift, I still think it's good. Whereas I think the Casino Royale stuff from the hospital to the end is middling. But this is far more pronounced, and it's the same complaint I had about 3, where how good is Philip Seymour Hoffman? How fun is the Vatican? How fun is this cold open? And then here's a bunch of bullshit, and he's running, and now here's a good ending. And I didn't even appreciate the ending fully because of how annoyed I was and how bored I was by the half hour that happened before that. And it's the same here, where yeah, some of that car park stuff could have been cool if I was not just completely checked out following Dubai. And why wasn't it just Hendrix going to the meeting himself. Why bother with Wistrom? Why tag a half hour on the end of the movie? In my head, movie studios don't want to make 4-hour movies. They want to keep cutting them down because people go see movies.
But I think a 2-hour movie is kind of the ideal, but it's drifting up to 2.5 hours.
They're all too long, every one of them. They should be aiming for 90 and settling for 2
but
hours.
Would you agree this is the best Mission Impossible movie we've done so far? Or is 3 better for you?
It's interesting. The highs are the highest in the franchise so far, but 3 pissed me off less than this did. But then, I'm flying higher, but that's probably why it pissed me off so much, is that it went from so high to everything in Mumbai. I think is fucking terrible, personally, except maybe the car park. But I would rather watch 3 again, to be honest. I'd rather stop watching after Dubai in this movie and pretend that's the end.
I mean, that's the thing is, you can quite easily go onto YouTube and just load up the Burj Khalifa scene and be like, this is great. This is
peak Mission Impossible, maybe. So we have some responsibilities. Villain watch is one of them. Kurt Hendricks is a non-entity.
The villains in this movie are nothing. I think the thing that Chris McQuarrie did when he came in was basically go the plot is too complicated and the plot is probably too tied up into villain motivations and what the villain's like. Michael Nyqvist goes on to do John Wick after this. He's so much more fun in John Wick.
Yeah.
But he's basically a complete non-entity. I like individual character beats. As I said, I like the thing of him being such a nihilist that he just kills himself at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's fitting. It's not just, I haven't thought this through. It's he actually genuinely believes that it is good for the human race to have a little bit of a cull.
But if we're saying that Philip Seymour Hoffman is pinnacle of this franchise villain, and Dougray Scott is the opposite end. Philip Seymour Hoffman's a 10, and Dougray Scott's a -10. Michael Nyqvist's a 0, directly in the middle, where
he just doesn't exist, basically. And the villain of this film is arguably the technology crapping out, and the plan's not quite going right. I could have done for Moreau, Lea Seydoux, to have been a larger factor, because I think she is giving the best of the 3 villain performances. If you want to throw in Sidorov as an antagonist turned ally, I guess he would be second for me. But yeah, she's great. She looks really good at being menacing in the hotel when she's just sitting there just seething at them all. She's fun when she's murdering Josh Holloway. If they could have found a way for her to be a larger presence, cut Wistrom, have Hendricks just be his own henchman, and beef up Moreau's role, I think we could have had a really good villain here in Moreau, but instead it's just I feel Lea Seydoux accepts a lot of roles that are dramatically underusing her, and this is one of many of those.
Yeah. So since we've officially come out and done 3 Lea Seydoux movies at this point, is it 3? No, we've done 2. We will do 3 with Spectre. When do we do Death Stranding?
Well, while Mads was making it work, her stuff less good. Her character is called Fragile, and her catchphrase is, "I'm fragile, but not that fragile." And yeah, I've not played the game. I've only seen extensive video of it, and yeah, she's slumming it there. Let's say that. How did Tom survive the fucking Burj Khalifa? Madness that he did that. I don't care how many cables there were. He was 1,000 feet in the air, hanging off the side of a building. Yeah,
how do you survive? It's probably one of the best stunts in a movie ever.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say, I don't think, even coming up from the start of Mission Impossible 2 with him hanging off the side of that cliff, it looks cool, but it's nowhere near as impressive as this movie, where the opening shot of it is just hey, we're going to do an over the head shot of the ground beneath us.
This is a top 5, top 10 all-time action movie set piece, in my opinion, or a stunt set piece. I don't know what you want to call it.
No, I think it's completely fair. I think if you're doing this is why stunt Oscars should exist, and I know a lot of it is Tom Cruise on this thing, but this is what needs to be honoured at the Oscars, is this kind of insanity.
Yeah.
And the stunt crew that would go into doing this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, and also it's another excuse to have big grossing action movies show up at the Oscars.
Yeah, because this is the stuff they do well.
Yeah, exactly. You can have an Oscar which is Mission Impossible and John Wick and all these different movies that have really impressive stunt crews doing stuff. But yeah, this is incredible. It's insane. I don't think there are set pieces in Rogue Nation or Fallout that top this, but I think it does.
I do hear people going on and on about that plane scene. So
the plane scene's great.
I look forward to that.
I'm just intrigued what your reaction's going to be to kind of what the movie is afterwards.
Okay. Again, if he did that roll off the van onto concrete. He's crazy. And just generally, it's got like the biggest stunt he's ever done, but it also feels like it's got fewer stunts than normal at the same time, like overall.
Probably more akin to the first Mission Impossible, where there is just the one big set piece in the movie.
I'm going to assume he didn't drive a car into a nosedive in a car park.
We'll also assume he didn't break his leg, but
well, yes.
That's the other thing I like about this movie is when we say how did he survive, Ethan Hunt is really bit battered at the end of this movie. Like in all the other movies, like yes, he had his like brain hemorrhage at the end of Mission Impossible 3, but like there's real world kind of damage to Ethan in the end of this movie, which I appreciate as like he is human even whilst he is not human.
Literally dying did less to him than this did. So, female agency. So, Jane Carter, Paula Patton, another mixed bag. The best treated female character in Mission Impossible so far, probably, because they do give her that vague, actual through line. It's like a more realised version of Kerry Russell in 3, because she's in and out in 5 minutes. You know, the male fridging with Josh Holloway gives her an actual story. She has an actual nemesis. It kind of sucks that the women have to fight each other, but I don't know. You get into some other territory if you have.
But then it like once she's killed
women, yeah.
Once she's killed Bro, her story's over.
Exactly. Well, yeah, they try it, and like they very briefly, he's like, "Don't hit me, but I have to make out with you right now to make this horny Indian billionaire like."
Like he must be cooked. He must be cooked.
Yes. And he's like, oh, you're such a passionate creature. That scene, bad stuff. Her having to wear this ridiculous dress. And then just being lingerie in the car. It's like, did you have to show her, like, changing out of the dress? Like, they do this shit all this. Like, Scarlett Johansson in the car in Iron Man 2. And stop doing this scene of, like, just pervy shot of women changing in cars.
I mean, the thing is, both these movies are Paramount. I have to assume it's the same fucking executive coming into the room and just kind of going, like... But what if they're stripping?
Yes. And also, they're all going by planetary code names. Ethan is Jupiter and all of this. She's Venus, so Aphrodite if you're going Greek. And, like, I understand generally... I mean, I don't think it's good that women have to constantly do these, like, seduction things. But it just seemed like another little slap in the face. And then at the end, like, her getting shot so that she's relegated to just standing there watching Benji do things and Renner can go save the day. It's like, oh, don't do literally anything. You just stand there while the men sort this out. Like, bad stuff. Let's say that was good. I just wish she had more to do.
I think Paula Patton's good as well. She's got a great physicality to her, and I think it's a damn shame that she doesn't come back for the next ones. I think she was. I think Chris McQuarrie does an interview where he goes like, "Why weren't like Maggie Q or Paula Patton back for the next movie?" And he's like, "Oh, they were just busy." But then you look at Paula Patton's like list of movies she does after this, and you kind of go like, "Oh God, I hope she wasn't busy with like Warcraft or something after this." Or like,
but
just
you can see why everyone signed up for that movie. Like that movie on paper should have made $1 billion, but didn't.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But it's just like you'll sit there and go like, I mean, and obviously like I think spoilers for the next movie. I do think the series kind of finally solves its leading woman problem.
Yay! Because they're getting incrementally closer, but it's all with like giant grains of salt in the form of like.
That's the thing. It's like there are female characters with agency in like every movie, and you're kind of going, oh, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it? And then Rebecca Ferguson shows up in the next one, and it's like finally one of these movies actually has like a female character who has like weight on the plot, because like Eva Green's great in Casino Royale, and Bourne kind of like it was weird for me watching Bourne and kind of realizing that the person who I thought was the female lead of the franchise has nothing to do for the first two movies really.
Yeah,
but it's just weird. Like there are so few female characters, and we are reaching a point now where I feel like obviously Lea Seydoux going to have 2 Bond movies to her name, so she will be the most recurring Bond girl of this era.
How dare you speak ill of M?
Okay, yeah. Helen Mirren? Jesus Christ. Yeah, Judi Dench is obviously the queen, but she's like it feels like a different role. It feels more like if Mission Impossible had the same head of the IMF every single time is why it feels different. And obviously she is the Bond girl in Skyfall, and I'd have to look, but you could probably argue that she probably deserved an Oscar nomination for what she does in Skyfall.
Probably. Did you say Helen Mirren because you knew you were going to say she's the queen? Just
no, boo.
I'll take all of that out. Or maybe I won't now. Well, we can talk about Rebecca Ferguson. in a couple of episodes' time.
Got 6 movies left, 2 of each.
I know, yeah, but next time we will be doing the utterly abysmal Bourne Legacy. Jeremy Renner will return. Almost had the keys to 2 franchises somehow. Then we get to do Skyfall, and then we get to do Rogue Nation, which I have not seen. In fact, Skyfall is the last movie on the list I've seen. Oh no, I've seen Spectre, sorry. But I haven't seen
That's easy to forget though, isn't it?
I haven't seen Rogue Nation, I haven't seen Jason Bourne, I haven't seen Fallout, so yeah, good times ahead. In the meanwhile, go to entertherealworld.com, like, comment, subscribe, check out all of our podcasts. Real Bad is the new Breaking Bad podcast by Jerome and Kevin. That is debuting a new episode every month. Flipping the Pig covers Adventure Time. Superhero Pantheon is every 2 weeks and does superhero movies as it says in the title. They most recently did Birds of Prey, but they will have done something else by the time you hear this. And I reviewed Birds of Prey. I wrote something. You can read it. Please do. But next time, Bourne Legacy, please prepare yourself, Ben. And you're going to have to do it quickly because this podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds, as we've always said.
Do I have to watch it?
You do.
Secret agent man.